Hey, welcome back. A man who murdered a Toledo police officer 18 years ago is eligible for parole now. Robert Jobe was just 15 years old when he shot and killed Detective Keith Dressel on a foggy February morning in 2007. Melissa Andrews went to the prison where Jobe is serving time to interview him. She joins us now to preview the story she's putting together for tomorrow night. It has to be weird to go into a prison and sit down face to face with somebody who has taken a life and has spent so much time in prison.
I think what interested me about talking to Robert Jobe, he had done this murder about 2 weeks before I moved to Toledo. So the TV station was still covering all of these stories as I was just new to the area. And I just remember looking at him and thinking, what's he thinking going through this? He was so small. And now that my daughter is 15 years old, I can tell you she doesn't know nothing about nothing. So I always kind of wondered, what was his life like? What was his childhood like? How did he end up on that street in the middle of the night on that night in 2007? So we talked about that.
Yeah, because most kids with the family upbringing, they're at home in bed and they have school the next morning.
Yeah, and so I think that that brings a sense of empathy, not taking away what he did, the life that he took. He took Keith Dressel from the police department, his family, his friends, but he was 15 years old and he was raised with criminals as parents. And so how do you get out of that? How do you learn right from wrong when that's your environment?
And here he is. He was convicted at 15, 16 years old. He's served 18 years in prison.
He's been in prison longer than he was alive when he committed the murder.
What's he talk like? Is there remorse in his voice? Does he? I mean, yeah, he'd have to regret being in prison, obviously.
Well, here he is. This is my first time seeing him. He's coming into the room here. I think he was retrospective. He still gets in trouble, and he acknowledges that in prison. And we've never heard what he said happened that night. So here's what he said.
Instantly, I went into like, okay, so I moved back and I got to slipping on the ice and he grabbed me and I turned around and I fired. And it shot him and I took off running. He started shooting at me, and later on, after I was at my friend's house, he woke me up and showed me the news and stuff.
So he said that, you know, he went to this building after this all happened. He took off. His friend that was with him, they were caught. He was caught by police. He took off. He went to sleep. And he woke up in the morning and his friend was like, hey, you know, he saw the news. He said, I shot a police officer. He said, no, you killed a police officer. And then he said he questioned Keith Dressel in his mind. Why didn't you tell me you're a police officer, this and that? And then he went back to sleep. And I said, how could you go back to sleep? Then a few hours later, he turned himself in.
So here he is. He's been in prison for a long time. Parole is coming up. He has a life sentence, correct?
18 years to life.
Okay, so we're at 18.
We're at 18. He got 15 years for the murder, 3 years for a gun specification. So now we're at 18. First chance at parole.
Okay, what's the process here?
So what happens, I talked to someone at the CEO of the Ohio Justice and Policy Center, and he told me that what will happen is there will be a hearing before the parole board. It is not public, so we can't go and watch it. Nobody can go. It's on Zoom or something. If they decide unanimously that he should be eligible for parole, it would go before the full parole board. At that time, the hearing would be public. Interested parties can go and speak. If he's denied parole, then the parole board sets a time when his next parole hearing would be. So there's no set time. But I do want to say that what I also find interesting about this is in the years since this happened, there have been many changes, including here in the state of Ohio, about how juveniles are sentenced. Juveniles can no longer be sentenced to life in prison in the state of Ohio and many other states, and a lot of that comes from science. The frontal lobe is not fully developed at that age. And so he was not sentenced to life without a chance of parole. That can't happen anymore.
There's so much information in this story. When can we see the piece? I've seen it. It's wonderfully done. Where is this available?
So the full piece is going to air. It's about 10 minutes tomorrow night at 11. We dedicated a lot of time to this, and then we also put together a half-hour piece on WTOL 11 Plus. That's our app. And if you go on WTOL 11 Plus, right now you should be able to see the full story. We did extended interview clips that you're not going to see in the story tomorrow night at 11. So there's about 36 minutes of content here. I also want to mention that we talked to Detective Dressel's mother, so you'll hear what she has to say about all this, how she's doing all these years later, the memories that they've missed out on. And we also talked to the sheriff, Mike Navarre, who was the police chief at the time, and Lucas County prosecutor Julia Bates, who is fighting Jobe's release.
Boy, when is the first meeting going to be of the hearing?
The hearing is December 5th.
Okay, coming up soon. Mel, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing that piece again.